God is saying, I know you're going through a hard time, but I'm coming. Life often feels like a relentless storm, a place where the waves rise higher than we can handle, where the nights stretch longer than we think we can endure, and where our hearts grow weary under the weight of troubles that seem to have no end. And in those moments of exhaustion and despair, when tears fall more easily than smiles, and when silence feels heavier than words, God leans close and whispers gently into the depths of our souls. I know you're going through a hard time, but I'm coming. This divine assurance is not just a poetic promise, but a reality woven into the very foundation of faith. Because throughout the ages, God has never been blind to the pain of His children, never been deaf to the cries of those who call out to Him in anguish, and never been distant from the hearts that long for His touch. And though it may feel like the heavens are quiet and the earth unyielding, He has always been working, always preparing, and always drawing near to deliver strength in the very moments when we feel weakest. You see, trials have a way of distorting our vision, clouding our ability to see beyond the immediate difficulty, and convincing us that perhaps we are alone, abandoned, or forgotten. But God's voice cuts through that illusion with a clarity that restores hope, saying, I see you in your valley. I know the pain that others cannot see, and I understand the burdens you carry in secret. But I am coming with comfort, with strength, and with a breakthrough that will remind you that your story is not over, and that your suffering is not in vain. The hard times we go through often feel endless, like cycles we cannot break, like chains we cannot loosen. But they are not eternal, because even though pain has its season, even though darkness has its hours, even though despair may rise like a flood, God's light cannot be extinguished, and His mercy cannot be delayed forever. For He has appointed a time of release, a moment of restoration, and a day of deliverance. And when that time comes, you will realize that He had been with you all along, walking beside you through the fire, holding you steady through the storm, and keeping you alive when everything inside you wanted to give up. God's message, I'm coming, is not just about an external rescue from problems, but also about His internal presence that strengthens your soul. For He comes in the quiet of your thoughts when you are overwhelmed with doubt, and offers peace that surpasses understanding. He comes in the midst of your loneliness to remind you that you are never abandoned. And He comes in the middle of your struggle to place within you a resilience that does not come from human strength, but from His divine Spirit. And that strength allows you to keep moving forward when your body is tired, when your mind is burdened, and when your heart feels crushed under the weight of sorrow. It is important to understand that God's timing is not always aligned with our own, and that can often cause frustration, because we want deliverance now, we want healing immediately, we want answers today. But God, in His infinite wisdom, knows that some breakthroughs require preparation, some victories require patience, and some blessings require us to grow into the people who are ready to carry them. And so He tells us, do not mistake my silence for absence, for even when you cannot feel me, I am nearer than your breath. And even when you do not see evidence of change, I am already aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities to work in your favor, because I am faithful, and I will not leave you in despair forever. Think of the countless moments in history where God showed up just as His people thought all hope was lost. From the Israelites trapped at the Red Sea with an army behind them and an ocean before them, to Daniel in the lion's den where death seemed certain, to Paul and Silas locked in prison with chains binding their bodies. And yet in each story there was a turning point, a divine intervention, a miraculous opening, and in each story the testimony was the same, that God was not late, that God was not absent, that God was faithful to His word, and that His promise, I am coming, was always fulfilled. When you hear God saying to you today, I know you're going through a hard time, but I'm coming. You must allow those words to sink into your spirit like seeds planted in fertile soil, because if you water them with faith, they will grow into hope. If you nourish them with prayer, they will blossom into strength. And if you guard them with perseverance, they will become the very foundation that keeps you standing until the day His promise becomes reality in your life. For every tear you cry, every prayer you whisper, and every step you take in faith is noticed, cherished, and held in the palm of His hands. God is not distant from your suffering, He is not indifferent to your pain, and He is not blind to your struggle. Rather, He is intimately aware of every sleepless night, every silent prayer, and every hidden wound, and He wants you to know that your current hardship is not your final chapter, because His presence is moving toward you, His Spirit is strengthening you even now, and His love is covering you like a shield, ensuring that nothing you face will destroy you. For though the weapon may be formed against you, it will not prosper, and though the enemy may rise against you, he will not prevail, because God has spoken over your life and said, I am coming. So when you feel weary and afraid, remind yourself that this hard time will pass. When you feel tempted to give up, remind yourself that God is on His way. And when you feel lost and confused, remind yourself that the one who holds the universe in His hands has not forgotten your name. For His word declares that even the very hairs on your head are numbered, that He knows the thoughts you think before you think them, that He hears the prayers you cannot even put into words, and that His love for you is deeper than the ocean, higher than the skies, and stronger than anything that could ever come against you. God is saying to you today, I know you're going through a hard time, but I'm coming. And that means your story will not end in defeat. Your life will not be defined by struggle. Your future will not be destroyed by the pain of the present, because God is faithful. And when He comes into your situation, chains break, doors open, hearts heal, and hope is restored. And when He says He is coming, you can be sure that nothing in heaven or on earth can stop Him from reaching you, lifting you, and blessing you beyond what you can imagine. So hold on, my friend, because the night may be long, but the dawn is on its way. The pain may be heavy, but joy will come in the morning. The road may be difficult, but victory is certain. And though you may feel alone now, God is closer than you realize, whispering into the quiet of your heart, do not fear, do not give up, do not lose faith, for I am with you, and I am coming to bring you through this hard time into a season of peace, of blessing, and of joy. And as you walk through the season where the weight of hardship presses against your shoulders, and where your spirit feels exhausted from carrying battles that seem too heavy to win, I want you to remember that even though you may feel forgotten, God's eye has never left you, His hand has never let go of you, and His heart has never turned away from your cries. For He knows every detail of your pain, and He knows every hidden thought that you cannot share with anyone, and He wants you to hold on to the truth that He has already prepared a way out. He has already designed a breakthrough, and He has already set in motion the very help you need even before you asked Him for it. It is in the darkest nights that stars shine their brightest, and it is in the deepest valleys that God's presence feels the most intimate, because in those moments when human help cannot reach you, when human understanding cannot explain your struggle, and when human strength cannot carry you any further, God Himself steps in with His divine comfort, His unfailing promises, and His boundless grace, and He reminds you that while the world may shake and storms may rage, His word stands unshaken, His love remains unmovable, and His promise that I am coming is certain and sealed with eternal faithfulness. Many times you may wonder why you must endure long nights of waiting, why prayers seem delayed, and why answers do not come as quickly as your heart desires. But if you could see what God sees, if you could understand the full scope of His plan, you would realize that He is not denying you, He is preparing you. He is not ignoring you, He is shaping you. And He is not punishing you, He is strengthening you for blessings so great that if you receive them too soon, they would overwhelm you instead of sustain you. And so He allows the waiting not as abandonment, but as divine preparation for the greater that is yet to come. Every hardship you endure is not wasted, but rather woven into the fabric of your destiny, because the trials you face produce strength you did not know you had. The tears you cry water the soil for growth you could not yet see, and the pain you carry becomes the very testimony that will one day inspire others who are lost in their own valleys. And through it all, God's steady voice continues to whisper, "I know you are weary. I know you are hurting, but I am coming. And when I arrive, you will understand why you had to go through the fire, because it refined you. Why you had to face the storm, because it strengthened you. And why you had to walk through the valley, because it drew you closer to me." It is easy to focus on the weight of the cross you are carrying, the heaviness of the present struggle, the endless cycle of unanswered questions. But if you lift your eyes for just a moment and fix them on the one who holds eternity in his hands, you will realize that nothing you are facing is beyond his power, that nothing you are carrying is beyond his strength, and that no enemy that rises against you is greater than the God who fights for you. And this truth should fill your soul with courage to keep going, to keep believing, to keep hoping. Because even though the road feels endless, God's promise is sure. He is coming. There is a sacred strength that grows in you when you realize that your current circumstances do not define your ultimate destiny, because hardships are temporary, but God's love is eternal. Storms eventually pass, but God's faithfulness endures forever. And even the heaviest nights of sorrow eventually give way to mornings of joy. And in that moment, you will be able to look back and see that through every silent prayer, through every hidden tear, through every sleepless night, He was there, holding you up when you wanted to collapse, carrying you when you had no more strength, and whispering over your life the same promise He whispers today. "I know you're going through a hard time, but I am coming." And so the call for you is not to surrender to despair, but to stand firm in faith, to hold on to hope with both hands even when it feels fragile, to cling to His promises like an anchor in the storm, and to believe that the God who parted seas, who calmed waves, who healed the sick, and who raised the dead is the same God who walks beside you right now, who will never abandon you, and who will soon bring you into a season where peace replaces chaos, where joy replaces sorrow, and where abundance replaces lack. Because He is faithful to His word, and He is true to His promise, and His message remains the same: I am coming.
And while the weight of waiting can sometimes feel unbearable, and while the silence of unanswered prayers can sometimes feel like abandonment, I want you to recognize that God's silence does not mean His absence. For often in the stillness, He is working behind the scenes, moving pieces that you cannot see, arranging circumstances that you do not yet understand, and aligning opportunities that you would never have imagined possible. And in that hidden orchestration, He is preparing the exact moment when your breakthrough will come. And when it comes, you will see that every delay was divine protection, every closed door was a redirection, and every long night of tears was a seed that would eventually produce a harvest of joy, so great that your current pain will pale in comparison. You must remind yourself constantly that the God who spoke the universe into existence with a single word, the God who stretched out the heavens and set the stars in their place, the God who knows every grain of sand on every shore and every hair upon your head, has not forgotten you, has not overlooked you, and has not abandoned you to fight your battles alone. And though the weight of your burden tries to convince you otherwise, His Spirit continues to whisper reassurance that He is still in control, that He is still working on your behalf, and that He is still moving towards you with the power to turn everything around in an instant. It is often said that dawn is darkest just before the light breaks through, and this truth echoes in your own journey. For when everything feels as though it is collapsing, when people walk away, when finances fail, when health declines, when opportunities vanish, and when hope seems distant, that is often the very moment just before God steps in to show His glory. Because it is when human strength is exhausted and human solutions have failed that His power is revealed most clearly. And you will see with your own eyes how suddenly and how beautifully He can shift everything, taking ashes and turning them into beauty, taking sorrow and transforming it into dancing, taking emptiness and filling it with overflowing abundance. Because that is the nature of the God who says to you right now, I am coming. Understand that faith is not built in comfort, but in struggle. It is not deepened in sunshine, but in storms. It is not strengthened in laughter, but in tears. And it is precisely through the seasons of difficulty that you are being trained to carry the greatness that God is preparing to pour into your life. And though it feels unfair and heavy in the present moment, one day you will look back with gratitude, recognizing that it was those very storms that equipped you, it was those very battles that prepared you, and it was those very tears that washed away what you could not carry into your future. And all of it was overseen by the one who kept whispering, "Do not give up, because I am coming." Think for a moment about how every season of life has its appointed time, how winter eventually gives way to spring, how darkness eventually surrenders to light, how night eventually yields to morning, and so too will your season of pain eventually make way for a season of blessing, because God has declared that there is a time for everything under the heavens. And just as surely as you are walking through a valley now, you will one day stand upon the mountain, and you will testify that it was not your strength that carried you there. It was not your wisdom that guided you there, and it was not your power that sustained you there, but it was the faithfulness of God who never abandoned you, who never failed you, and who never once broke his promise, because his word endures forever. And his word to you is simple yet powerful: I am coming. So take courage in this truth. Let it breathe strength into your soul. Let it calm the restless storm within you. Let it silence the voices of doubt and fear that keep trying to convince you that you are forgotten. Because you are not forgotten. You are chosen. You are seen. You are loved beyond comprehension. And though your circumstances may scream otherwise, the reality is that heaven has its eyes fixed on you. And the God of eternity is closer than your own breath, holding you in his arms, guiding your steps, and preparing to release into your life a blessing that will not only restore what you have lost, but multiply it beyond what you could imagine. And that is why he declares once more, I know you're going through a hard time, but I'm coming. And even when the heaviness of life blinds your eyes to the possibilities of tomorrow, and even when every step you take feels like you are walking deeper into the shadows, I want you to know that those shadows cannot last forever, because light is on the way, and the light is not of this world, but of heaven. And when that light comes, it does not merely brighten the path, but it transforms the entire landscape of your soul, shifting despair into hope, fear into courage, and weakness into strength. Because the one who is light himself is saying to you, I know the weight you are carrying. I know the storms that rage against you, but I am coming to calm the winds. I am coming to still the waves, and I am coming to carry you into peace. There is no tear you have shed that has gone unnoticed, no cry you have made that has gone unheard, no sleepless night you have endured that heaven has ignored, because every detail of your suffering has been collected by God, treasured in his heart, and turned into fuel for the blessing that he is preparing for you. And this is why you must resist the temptation to give up. You must resist the voice that tells you nothing will ever change. You must resist the despair that convinces you your best days are behind you. Because the reality is that the best is still ahead. The door is not closed, the story is not finished, and the promise still stands. For the God who cannot lie has declared, I am coming. When you find yourself asking, why must I suffer this way? Why must I carry this pain? Why must I walk this lonely road? Remember that the shaping of your destiny often requires seasons of stretching. The preparation for your purpose often demands moments of pruning, and the unveiling of your future often involves journeys through deserts and valleys. Yet these places of difficulty are not signs of God's rejection, but signs of his investment, because he allows you to be pressed only so that greater oil may flow. He allows you to be refined only so that purer gold may emerge, and he allows you to be broken only so that you can be rebuilt into someone stronger, wiser, and more unshakable. And through it all, he reassures you, I have not abandoned you. I am still with you, and I am coming.
Do not let the length of the journey convince you that the destination does not exist, because though the road may be longer than you expected, though the delays may be more discouraging than you anticipated, and though the obstacles may be higher than you imagined, the promise is still secure, and the promise maker is still faithful, and what he has spoken will surely come to pass, because God's word does not return void. His promises are not empty, and his timing is never late, but always perfect. And so, while you wait in what feels like endless uncertainty, know that heaven's calendar is counting down to the day of your breakthrough. And when that day arrives, you will testify that every second of waiting was worth it, for the fulfillment was greater than the pain, and the promise was bigger than the struggle. And God was faithful all along when he said, "I am coming." And as you breathe these words into your heart, let them remind you that even when you feel like you are standing in the middle of a battlefield, surrounded by enemies too strong for you, you are never truly outnumbered, because God plus you is always the majority, and no weapon formed against you shall prosper, no curse spoken over you shall succeed, and no plan of the enemy shall prevail, because the one who walks beside you is the Lord of hosts, the commander of heavenly armies, the creator of heaven and earth. And when he moves on your behalf, nothing can stop him, nothing can delay him, and nothing can stand against him. And his voice still thunders with certainty, "I am coming." And even now, while you are reading or hearing these words, something is already shifting in the unseen realm. Something is already moving in your favor. Something is already breaking loose that was once bound. Because faith does not merely wait for evidence. Faith declares the victory before the evidence arrives. Faith celebrates the harvest before the seed has sprouted. And faith holds on with unshakable confidence that what God has promised, he will perform. And so your job is not to figure out how. It is not to worry about when. It is not to control the process, but it is simply to believe, to trust, to rest in his word, and to remind yourself daily that God has not forgotten, God has not failed, and God is indeed coming.